because they don't want to own up for the decisions that they have made. Now, granted, I would be the first one to admit when Republicans were in control of the Congress that we didn't do it right all the time and that we lost our way a little bit with regard to spending. But having said that, Mr. President, we now have, since 2006, a Democrat Congress. And I need to remind my colleagues that the President doesn't spend a dime under our Constitution. Congress has the power of the purse. Congress appropriates funds. And so if you look at the last several years in terms of appropriations, going back to the last couple of years that the Republicans were in control of the Congress here, the amount of spending in the non-defense part of the budget was a negative 1% in 2007, 5% 2006, and 8% in 2005. Now that's non-defense discretionary spending in our annual appropriations. If you go to total growth, which includes defense, you're talking about in 2005 that number was 8%, 2006 it was 5%, 2007 2%. Anyway, more than most people I think would argue we needed to be spending in annual appropriations bills. But the Democrats took control of the Congress after the 2006 election, so they started writing the budgets. We have ownership for the 2007 budget, but the Democrats have ownership for 2008, 2009, and 2010. The 2008 budget, Mr. President, grew at 9% total growth. Non-defense discretionary spending grew at 6%. And if you look at non-defense discretionary spending in 2009, the last fiscal year, it was 12%. And in this fiscal year, 2010, the estimate is that we will spend 17% over the previous year. So year-over-year spending in non-defense discretionary appropriations here in the United States Congress will have grown in the last 2 years almost 30%. Now, that's not a problem that was created by the Bush administration. That's not a problem, obviously, that the Republican majority was responsible for. That is, the Democrats, when they took control of the Congress after the 2006 elections and beginning in 2007, they write the budgets, they approve the appropriation bills, and obviously, as you can see, Mr. President, the numbers have gone up dramatically. 12% in the 2009 budget year, 2010 estimate for which we are now funding appropriations bills, and we have funded most of them now with the omnibus or the smaller appropriations bill, the 6 bills that was passed just a week or two ago, looking at 17% year-over-year spending in appropriations. So almost 30% in the last 2 budget years. That's not a problem that is that the previous administration that the other side can hold the previous administration responsible for or attack them for. Now, the other thing I'll mention, Mr. President, is that the $1 trillion that was approved earlier this year in the stimulus funding was approved on almost party lines. There were a couple of Republicans who supported that, but for the most part, that was something that was approved by the Democrat majority, and it was proposed by the President of the United States. That is not spending for which the former president is responsible. At some point around here, people have to own up and take responsibility for their own decisions. You cannot blame the past administration. You cannot blame inherited problems for all the spending that is going on right here, right now. The last year, as I said, appropriation spending, and this year, again, are by any stretch way above anything that we've seen or should see at a time when we've got an economy in recession and most Americans are having to tighten their budgets. 12% non-discretionary increase in 2009, 17% increase in spending in 2010. And so with that and the stimulus spending, it brings us to where we are today, which is this massive expansion of the federal government, $2.5 trillion in new spending for a new entitlement program. Now, that too is not something that the previous administration is responsible for. That is something that this administration, the majority here in the Congress, has decided they want to push through here. They want to finish it before the Christmas holiday. They want to get this in the rearview mirror before the American people have an opportunity to see what's in it, particularly in the last hurried rush here over this weekend where we got the 400-page amendment that included all these special last-minute deals that were made to try and get that elusive 60th vote. What we've seen is now the $2.5 trillion in new spending is filled with all kinds of goodies that are going to favor individual senators and individual states. And so the American people are starting to react to that.